Oklahoma Senator James Lankford. Senator, good morning.
Good morning to you.
So take us through why Senate Republicans wanted to push this into next week.
The challenge is when the House actually gives it to the Senate, then it sets up an immediate swearing in, basically, of jurors at that point, and then it shifts over to 24 hours later when the actual trial begins. That would mean it would start on Thursday afternoon. We know that Chuck Schumer is going to want to try to end this as quickly as possible. We want more running room in a week. So if the House sends it over to us on Monday, we pick it up on Tuesday. We've got a week to be able to fight this out rather than trying to be able to cram it against a weekend and it all disappears in the news. We want to be able to keep the focus where the focus should be. That is, number one, there's never been a time in American history any impeachment of any type of any official has just been tabled in the Senate. We've always had a trial, so we want to be able to keep that. Number two is we want to be able to make sure that the American people hear what's actually happening on the border right now. And it doesn't need to be weekend news. It needs to be driving during the week so people can hear it and see it.
Absolutely, yeah. Senator. The House impeached Mayorkas 2 months ago. Why aren't you prepared? What have you been doing?
Well, it's not an issue of the Senate not prepared. It is an issue of whenever the trial begins, whenever the documents are actually sent over from the House. The House has not sent the documents over to us yet. So we can't actually begin everything until those documents come over. The House has not sent it over because all of the House managers, they need to do their preparation. So they did the impeachment. Now they've taken their time to be able to get their case ready, to be able to argue it. See this as the attorneys actually trying to be able to gather together to be able to get their case ready. They've now had time to be able to prepare their case. They're ready to send it over. We're just asking them to send it over at the beginning of a week, not at the end of the week.
Okay. But the Senate has been preparing. I mean, you knew this was coming. So the Senate's been preparing, right?
100%. We knew it's coming. But our role as it's coming in is to not make the case. The House makes the case. The Senate sits as jurors at that point. We receive the case in and then make the ruling. What Chuck Schumer wants to do is never have a case at all. Just table it and ignore it and pretend this never occurred at all and try to use a procedural motion to literally never have a trial.
Okay, yeah. I see. Senator, I just want to get you to react to this. Axios with some reporting this morning about the situation at the southern border. Apparently, President Joe Biden is going to take executive action at the southern border before the election. Does that surprise you if he actually does what he's said for months now he doesn't have the power to do?
Well, he has taken executive action on our southern border to open it up. There were policies that were in place by President Trump before. He's taken over 90 executive actions to literally take a side and open the border up more and more. So when he says he's going to take executive action, I'm always a little suspicious because his previous executive actions literally made it worse every day rather than make it better. If he wants to be able to make it better, there are clear ways to be able to do that. We've said that for a long time. The president has things that he could do right now to be able to shut down the border. He has a parole policy that he created by executive action. He could turn that off immediately. It would shut down thousands of people crossing the border. He could put back Remain in Mexico and actually run that. That he could do by executive action. It would dramatically change what's happening at the border. There are things that Congress needs to do. We have to change the law on the asylum definition. There are multiple things that can't be done by executive action, but there's a lot that can be.
Senator, I want to pivot to the issue of abortion. Trump has made his stance clear, saying that is a state's issue. But now we see the ruling in Arizona, a near total abortion ban dating back to the 1800s. And the reaction seems anything but positive. Take a listen to Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs.
I know it's outrageous to have the government tell you that the best decision for your health or future could now be considered a crime. My message to Arizona women is this. I will not stop fighting until we have fully secured the right to reproductive health care in our state. I refuse to let radical extremists take control over women's bodies or tell my 22-year-old daughter that she has less rights than I did when I was her age.
So, yeah, Arizona, obviously a battleground state. How does this affect Trump's chances there? We're just 6.5 months from the election, and even Republicans are not for this. An Axios article saying that Kari Lake, even against this. I think a lot of people are not pleased with this, especially so close to the election.
Well, this will be the prime example of what President Trump talked about, where a state has to step in and they're going to actually clarify what does this mean. Are they going to put in a rape and incest and life of the mother exception? What are they going to do at this process? As you've seen across the country, half the states have made some changes in abortion to be able to reduce the number of abortions in their country or in their state. Another half of our states are actually taking action to increase the number of abortions in their state. President Trump talked over and over again about this is a heart issue. It is also a legal issue, but it's a cultural issue as well. It begs the question, when is a child a child? That is the most simple thing here. We talk about abortion and the left talks about reproductive freedom and all those things. The first question is, when is a child a child? And what is it that our state in particular is going to do about that? It'll be a nationwide argument in every single state. It'll also be an issue here in the federal side, because as we look at even Europe doesn't allow late-term abortions, but apparently the governor of Arizona is saying we're going to allow abortion all the way up until 10 minutes before birth. That's not even allowed in Europe, where they say that's atrocious. That is clearly a child. So this starts the spot where it should be. We should have this big conversation in states and nationally. When is a child, and what are we doing to protect the value of every single human life?
Senator, I understand that, and I agree with you, but this timing is terrible, because this makes the issue of abortion an issue in the 2024 election, and it doomed Republicans in 2022. And for somebody like Donald Trump and Kari Lake in Arizona and Republicans up and down the ticket, you don't want to be running on abortion again. You want to be running on the issues that Joe Biden's gotten wrong. Wars in 3 places: Haiti, Israel, Ukraine, the economy, of course, the southern border. We don't want this to be an abortion election again. And I understand what you just said, but you know what the headline's going to be? The headline's going to be Arizona makes abortion illegal. Doctors can go to jail for up to 5 years. And a vast majority, whether you agree with me or not, are going to view that as extreme. That is not good news for Republicans.
Yep.
Your reaction?
They're also going to look at it. They're also going to look at it as an 1864 law, and it's going to push the Arizona legislature to say, "What are we going to do?" This is similar to what happened in Alabama, where their courts ruled against IVF, and the Alabama legislature immediately engaged and said, "We're going to resolve what this actually means." So this pushes the Arizona legislature to now step in and to be able to take action, just like Alabama did, to be able to make sure they provide clarification.
Great point. You authored the Senate border bill. So I look at what's happening again. It's 8 o'clock in the morning in New York, so it's early. But if Joe Biden takes actual, real executive action on the southern border, and you couple that with what's going on with abortion all of a sudden over the last few days, and maybe Ukraine funding goes through, we're talking about the best week for Democrats and Joe Biden of 2024 without question. So we'll keep an eye on it, Senator. But if you read the tea leaves, that's where things are heading right now. Just 15 seconds, react to that.
Yeah, the hard part about that is the left doesn't want most of that as well. So if Biden steps out and actually takes executive action, which he could have done the last 3.5 years, the progressive left will go crazy on it. And right now he's trying to please the progressive left on it every single moment. So I'm very doubtful he takes real substantive solutions and puts them in place on our southern border.
Good point. We'll have to see. If he does take actual substantive action on the southern border, it might take some of the potency out of that argument for Donald Trump and Republicans campaigning over the next 6.5 months. A lot going on, Senator. That's all the time we have. Great to see you again. Oklahoma Senator James Lankford, thank you.